Welcome back if you're returning. Today's video is the mudroom makeover. So if you remember the mudroom, well, it's going from mudroom to office library and it's the coziest room in the house. So this was it on moving day. It's an extension on the back of the house. That's the back door. It has 3 lovely windows. It looks out onto the backyard, and the panelling is diagonal, and I don't know why. If it had been going up and down, it would have looked so much better, but I guess it was, they're a slave to the 80s extension, and that was the way it turned out. So we moved the library from the spare room upstairs. This was a room that I'd done earlier on in the year. Turned out beautifully, and it would be up there because that's where my office was, and I really loved this room. Loads of room with the bedroom in there as well. It was great, but one of the kids has moved back home for a few months, so we had to accommodate. So that's why we're changing rooms. So first things first, this room had become a bit of a catch-all room. We turned it into a little bit of a bar over Christmas. It still needed work. Obviously the flooring had to be done. These 3 steps were they're wide steps, but they were really 3 different sizes, so we had to do some work on them. I'd got my big heavy curtains up from the last property because there are 3 windows. It's a little drafty in there because it's just kind of out on its own at the back of the house. So those curtains actually make quite the difference. That's the door to the basement. And it's a spacious room, and it's quite a silly room really, because it's a waste as a mudroom because it's so big, but it's not really big enough to be anything else. Well, having said that, it is big enough to be something else, and that's why we've turned it into the library office. There's Santa. I did have him up in the house for about a week and a half, and then he went back downstairs to the basement. So you can see this was the blank canvas that we had. I would have liked to have painted the panelling, but we decided to leave it because it was a big job. So the floor's cleared, and it's not hardwood, it's a laminate floor, and it's a waterproof one that's in the rest of the house. It's not the best in the world. Certainly we wouldn't have bought it if we were putting it down, but it's what we've been given to put down, so that's what we're using. So you can see this floor goes down quite easily, it cuts quite easily, but it's just not very good quality. We've used floors similar to this, which was much better quality. It still cuts the same and goes down. This just doesn't seem to stay clicked together. However, it is what we've been given. The good thing about it is it's waterproof. So with this room being the first room off the backyard, the dog will come and sit in this room if he's wet. So we have a couple of rugs that's going to go down, but all in all it looks so much better than the floor that was down. So now that the flooring was done, or mostly done, we were clearing off the shelves from upstairs. So what I tried to do was replicate the bookshelves as they were upstairs, and of course that went out the window. It's okay if you're doing it on your own, but when you've got 16 million trips up and down the stairs, somebody's going to be helping you. And of course I tried to work it so that as the books came down, I would then put them in the new bookshelves downstairs the way I'd taken them off, but that didn't work out. So regardless, they're done now, and this is most of the books on the table in the kitchen. So as half the floor was finished, we were bringing the bookshelves from upstairs down and placing them where we wanted them. So we had a couple of goes at this because we had one tall bookshelf and 2 shorter ones, and I wanted them set up in one way and decided we did it another way. But as it turned out, it's not bad. It turned out quite well, and of course all the books went back on the shelves. I'm not big on decor on the shelves because we have so many books. I would say we've probably got at least another 2 or 3 boxes that I should really put up, but I just don't have the room for them. We're actually thinking of putting some shelves up at the top of the room, just to get some extra place to put our books. So this is my inspiration. We're definitely going for a dark and moody look as with the rest of the house. I did actually think of wallpaper, but then it was quite expensive, the wallpaper that I was looking at, even just one roll. So we decided to go with Tarpley Brown, which was a Benjamin Moore paint, and I tried to match it with my brown velvet curtains were going up in this doorway. Now, as you can see, it's not a doorway as such. So what I was painting this one wall and trying to figure out how I would stop the paint leading into the next room. So what I did was I went round the corner. The corners are rounded on these walls, so I went round the corner, and then I had picked up this trim and cut it to length, painted this trim the same brown, and then nailed it to the wall, and it gave a proper finish to the brown, which then leads on to the next colour in the next room, which I will be painting in the near future. So you can see I've gone round the corner to a line, and then I'm going to add the trim to that piece right there, and that's going to be my natural engine. You can see at the end it actually turned out quite nicely. So this one wall and the basement door is going to be painted the brown. So I am actually looking for either a nice leather armchair or a little two-seater, something with leather and tweed, or something a little bit different, something very high back and comfortable for reading or just sitting. In the meantime, I'm going to be using my old two-seater little love seat. This has seen better days. I've recovered this a couple of occasions. So what I decided to do was do a quick fix for now. I've taken the back piece off, left the seat fabric and the arms fabric, and I've just added in a piece of tweed. Under normal circumstances I would have peeled this all off, taken off all the staples. In this particular occasion, all I've done is I've glued this on. Now I've used the Gorilla Glue, which sticks like crazy, so there's going to take a little bit of wear and tear, but as soon as I can find the chair that I'm looking for, I will be donating this one, because like I said, it's seen better days, but it does work perfectly for the space. That was another piece of fabric I thought I might use, but decided to go with the tweed because I was staying with the green fabric that already exists on the sofa. Those of you that have been with me for a while will remember this. I thrifted this little stool quite a while ago, and I've been waiting to use it. And this was a little picture that I had, and I just used the leftover trim and added it to the frame, painted it up, and it gave it quite an Art Deco look. And there's Dudley, helps me with everything I do. This dog is a genius. You should see him with a glue gun. It was his idea actually to make the picture frame. He's such a big help. So these were the inspiration for my lamps. I did have a few different lamps, and I've been making a few of them over in the last little while, but this was what I started out with. It did go through a couple of changes before the finished product. I added a bit of trim, I added one piece of fringe and decided to go for a longer piece, and then I decided I wasn't happy with it and painted it red, which you'll see at the end results turned out really, really well. I'm actually really pleased with this. Again, if you've seen my other videos, you know I've painted lampshades before. This was the shade that I'd got like a pinky red, and I added brown to it to come out with my custom colour. And then this is the finished room. So this is the little hallway that leads from the kitchen down to the now library office. These are my interpretations of a trophy wall with my stuffed animals. Nobody's been hurt or killed during the making of this video. There's a couple of my little vintage hat collection. I've got loads of ladies' hats, and then there's a little jungle hat, a boating hat, and then a little summer hat. So I thought they just look really nice going into this room. There's the 3 steps that were rebuilt and recovered, and then open the curtains and you step into this beautiful, I'm just so pleased with how this turned out. It's so cozy. There's the piece of trim that's been added, and you can see it looks quite good. It's given a nice transition from the colour of the hallway into the brown on this one wall. As you can see, all of the furniture that was in the room upstairs is now in this little room, and yes, it's crowded, but boy is it ever cosy. It doesn't feel crowded at all. It just feels really, really nice. There's the lampshade that turned out really well. These curtains are really heavy duty curtains. They are 2 panels, but I only used the one on the back door, and it certainly helps with the drafts. And you can see all the little objects and pictures that I picked up over the years that were upstairs and pulled from around the house to go into this little room. That's my mum and dad's wedding photo in a beautiful silver frame on top of that unit. So there's my brown wall. As you can see, the velvet curtains cover the doorway, and they really do keep the heat in this room. And as I said, I would have liked to have painted the panelling, but they'd asked us not to. So obviously I absolutely, it's the only thing they've told us not to touch with paint, so that's why I went with a nice dark colour on this wall. And the bookshelves are a nice colour. I did think of painting them the dark, but thought, no, you know what, it kind of blends with the wall, so I was quite happy to leave them like that. I have this little table which is really handy for little bits and bobs as you're coming in from outside, and you know, you can sit at night and have a glass of sherry or a port. And I wanted to show you this little bell I picked up for 50 cents. I had this most amazing thrift haul, which is coming up in next week's video, and the things that I picked up for the prices it was amazing. As you can see, the desks in front of the window, I'm going to get curtains or another blind for that window, because when the sun shines in, it does shine right onto my computer, so I'm waiting to see what I'm going to put on the window. I just put the map up for now. But you can see everything fits in really well. The chair turned out really well, the little footstool underneath, so you want to sit and like I said, read a book. It's comfy enough for you to sit there with your feet up. So really pleased with how it turned out. I just wanted to show you this little pillow was the inspiration for the chair. As I said, I was going to put velvet on the seat and then the tweed on the background, and then decided I would be wasting my velvet if I put it on the chair, because it's on its way out, and like I said, I'm looking for another chair anyway. I added fringe to both of the light shades and put this little clock up. We had at another house, and again, the curtain over the door. Really pleased with how the lamp turned out. This was just the red paint that I had was too pink, so I added some brown to it, and it almost matches the red curtains. So this little room, when it was finished, I sat down in my office chair, which is a nice big old comfy chair, and honestly it was like being in an episode of an Agatha Christie movie, or you know, an old Hollywood movie. And then my husband came in and he sat down and he said, I feel like I should be having port and cigars with the gentleman after dinner. That's how this room evokes these sort of feelings of, you know, old time, you know, vintage, and it's so cozy and appealing, and it's just a lovely room. The things in this room are from when my kids were little, when I first came to Canada. Some of the books are so old that I've had in my collection for a long time, or that I've picked up that have been vintage books. And it's so lovely to be surrounded by all these beautiful books all the time. And then all the little collections from various houses and various places. It really is, it's a lovely feeling to be sitting surrounded by, yes, they're things, but they're nice things, and they certainly evoke lots of memories. Well, I hope you enjoyed my makeover. I know I certainly did. So I'm going to sit down in that chair, and I'm going to close the curtains, and I'm going to start editing my video, and I'm going to thoroughly enjoy my hard work, and see you next week for a bit of a catch up. I've got lots of things, a great thrift haul, and I'm going to be finishing off lots of jobs that I've started. So thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next week.